So forecasting the effects of earthquakes, floods, typhoons is very much like trying to predict the stock market and its trend. Sometimes you get it right, but most of the time you don't. My name is Ron Eguchi, and along with my partner in crime, Alana Simpson, we've organized a session called Reading the Tea Leaves When Risk Models Fail to Predict Disaster Impacts. So in order to ensure a robust, colorful discussion, we've invited 5 of our closest friends who also happen to be loss experts. So models can be simple, they can be complex. When models are simple, they require less data, but the results can be more rough. When you have more sophisticated models, the results become more accurate, but they have higher data demands. So why do models fail? I think there's several reasons. First, models inherently are imperfect. They have process uncertainties. They also have model parameter uncertainties. Also, risk models are made up of a lot of small models, and not all the models have the same standards of quality. And then finally, the way we're measuring and producing performance measures has changed a lot in the last several years. We're looking at socioeconomic impacts, and these are things that we're just beginning to understand, so they're more difficult to analyze. So what happens when you get it wrong? Maybe it doesn't matter. A lot of the experts say that it depends on where you are in the timeline, the disaster timeline. Very early on in a disaster, any information is better than no information. But as you proceed in the timeline, you need to have more certainty, and the reliability of your estimates really have to be much higher. Also, what you learn from a disaster needs to feed back into the model development so that you improve it for future employments. So it's also important to understand how the model results are being used, mainly to look at what precision is needed, what the timing is, and what you see back here are some of the examples of where loss model results have actually been used in analyses. So we're going to focus on 5 events around the country. Most of them have involved risk estimates within the recovery or response process. They're mostly earthquakes, but the lessons that we learn, I think, were equally applied to other disasters. So we'll start with the Christchurch earthquake, where we know about what happened to the central business district. But there's a dimension to that event that I don't think a lot of people know, and that is unmodeled perils actually produced losses that were very severe and overwhelmed the insurance industry. The Haiti earthquake, I think, is very special because it's one of the first events where remote sensing we use. And there were a lot of results that came out, but they weren't used by the first responders. And I think the reason is going to surprise you. We're also going to talk about PDNAs in the context of typhoons. And what we'll find is the importance, we've discovered the importance of having good exposure models to help sort of define that estimate. The Nepal earthquake is also an event where remote sensing was used. And one of the most discouraging things is that we don't have a standard damage scale for measuring damage used in remote sensing. And I think that leads to a lot of inconsistent results. And finally, the Tohoku earthquake, a very serious event, is going to be an important one. And we're going to look at a commentary on how not looking at the worst case scenario led to severe results. So let me tell you a little bit about our session. It's broken up into 3 parts. The first part will be the panelists providing introductory remarks on the events that I just discussed. We'll then move into a highly interactive panel discussion. I apologize to Keiko for not having a cartoon of a woman in there, but it will be questions that I will throw at them, and hopefully we'll have a provocative discussion. And finally, the last part is you, the audience, where you have an opportunity to ask questions and then maybe even share some of the experiences that you have had with risk modeling. We're going to cover things that didn't work, things that worked, and I think what's important here is to try and figure out how risk modeling fits into your toolbox. Does it play a role in what you do? And we're also going to take Marty McFly and go back to the future and look into the future to see how we can improve our models based on what we've learned, how technology can play an important role in this improvement, and most importantly, who needs to be involved with this development. So beside the takeaways, besides being able to raise your hand is that you're going to have a much better understanding of what drives not only the models, but the uncertainties, and you're going to have some great case studies to look back on to demonstrate model efficacy. So I encourage you to come to our session, 9 o'clock Friday in the Estancia Venezia room, and in order to bribe you, for the first 100 people that come in, we're going to have a virtual tea service. So please come. Thank you.